How did ancient cities stay clean without plumbing? How did entire communities share restroom without getting sick? And who were the people who kept everything flowing from the shadows? This is not just a story about sanitation, it's about survival, ritual, and quiet revolution, flushed into history's dark corners and forgotten. Tonight, we travel through time into the steamy courtyards of the Indus Valley, the perfumed latrines of Egypt, and the misty alleys of ancient China. This is not just history, it's history whispered into dreams. Before we begin, please consider subscribing and leave a like and a gentle comment. It helps these peaceful tales reach others who need rest. Now let's begin. The human need to relieve oneself is as ancient and universal as hunger or thirst. Yet, in the grand narratives of history, the spaces where this most intimate of acts occurred often remain hidden, overlooked in favour of temples, palaces, and battlefields. This manuscript embarks on a journey to pull back the veil on these forgotten corners of antiquity, the public restrooms. By examining the humble latrine, a surprising lens emerges, offering profound insights into the daily lives, social structures, technological prowess, and even the philosophical underpinnings of ancient civilizations. It is within these seemingly mundane spaces that the true pulse of a society can often be felt, revealing secrets far more intricate than mere waste disposal. The public restroom, despite its ubiquity across millennia, has rarely been given its due in historical discourse. It is often relegated to a footnote if mentioned at all. However, this report argues that these facilities, whether grand communal halls or simple pits, serve as a unique and intimate window into the past. They reflect a society's understanding of public health, its engineering capabilities, its social etiquette, and its attitudes towards privacy and community. The design, location, and maintenance of these spaces speak volumes about who held power, how resources were allocated, and what values a civilization held dear. To unveil these hidden worlds, this manuscript will delve into the diverse approaches to sanitation adopted by several remarkable ancient civilizations. We will explore the communal spirit of the Romans, where latrines became unlikely social stages. We will journey to ancient China during the Han Dynasty, uncovering systems rooted in resourcefulness and agricultural necessity. Our exploration will then take us to the purity-driven society of ancient Egypt, where personal hygiene held profound spiritual significance. Finally, we will examine the innovative and ecologically integrated practices of Mesoamerican civilizations, particularly the Aztecs and Maya, who transformed waste into a valuable resource. The aim is not merely to describe the physical structures, but to reveal the literal secrets of their sanitation practices and, more importantly, the broader implications these practices held for understanding the cultures that created them. The reconstruction of these ancient worlds relies on a careful blend of archaeological evidence, which provides tangible remains of these facilities, and historical texts, which offer written accounts of daily life and social norms. Where direct evidence is scarce, informed speculation, clearly distinguished from known facts, will be employed to paint a more complete picture. This approach allows for a vivid and engaging narrative that brings ancient environments and characters to life, making the content accessible to a general audience without resorting to overly academic jargon. The journey ahead promises to challenge modern assumptions about privacy, hygiene, and community. It will demonstrate how the very act of going to the toilet was, for many ancient peoples, a fundamentally different experience, deeply interwoven with their social fabric, economic systems, and spiritual beliefs. By understanding these surprising secrets, we gain a richer, more nuanced appreciation for the ingenuity and complexity of civilizations long past. The Roman Empire, renowned for its monumental architecture and sophisticated engineering, extended its ingenuity even to the most basic human needs. Public latrines, known as foricae or Vespasianae, were not merely functional spaces but integral parts of Roman urban life, reflecting a unique societal approach to hygiene and community. The design and technology of Roman public latrines were a testament to their advanced engineering capabilities. These facilities were often grand, communal rooms, typically square-shaped, featuring long stone or marble benches with keyhole-shaped openings arranged along the interior walls. The striking absence of individual partitions meant privacy, as understood today, was largely non-existent. This design choice underscores a fundamentally different concept of privacy in Roman society, where even intimate acts were integrated into the public sphere. Beneath these benches, a continuous stream of water flowed, carrying waste away into a central channel that connected to an intricate network of underground sewers, such as the famous Cloaca Maxima. This greatest sewer of Rome, originally built to drain marshy land, later evolved into a comprehensive system for removing waste from public and some private latrines, discharging it into nearby rivers or streams. The water supply for these systems was equally impressive. A complex network of 11 Roman aqueducts brought water of varying quality into the city. The highest quality water was reserved for drinking, while poorer quality water was strategically diverted to public baths and latrines. The construction of these aqueducts and sewers utilized durable materials like concrete, stone, brick, and terracotta pipes, with meticulous sealing to ensure efficiency. 7. The impressive scale of these public utility projects, designed to serve a dense urban population, clearly indicates a cultural emphasis on communal living and a strong centralized authority capable of organizing vast labor and resources. This contrasts sharply with modern Western notions of sanitation as a private, solitary act, revealing a society where public spaces, even latrines, fostered interaction and community. Roman hygiene practices, while seemingly advanced for their time, also reveal a fascinating paradox. The primary tool for personal cleansing after using the latrine was the tossorium, a sea sponge attached to a wooden stick. This tool was often communal, rinsed in a gutter of running water, salt water, or vinegar for the next user. While vinegar might have offered some disinfectant properties, modern standards of sterilization were entirely absent. Other, more abrasive, methods included the use of ceramic discs known as passoi. Beyond the latrine, Roman personal hygiene involved daily bathing, often in elaborate public bathhouses, where citizens cleaned themselves with olive oil and a curved metal scraper called a strigil, rather than soap. Furthermore, human urine, collected in public buckets dolia curta, was a valuable commodity used in industries such as tanning and laundering due to its ammonia content, and even for teeth whitening. The Romans developed sophisticated systems for water supply and waste removal, and their personal hygiene practices were extensive. However, the continued prevalence of intestinal parasites like whipworm, roundworm, and dysentery, which actually increased in Roman times compared to the preceding Iron Age, suggests a fundamental lack of understanding of germ theory. The communal tossorium and the infrequently changed water in some public baths likely contributed to the spread of disease. This highlights the limitations of even advanced ancient technology when fundamental scientific understanding, such as microbiology, is absent. It demonstrates that impressive engineering alone does not guarantee public health if the underlying biological mechanisms of disease transmission are not understood. The social dynamics within Roman public latrines were perhaps their most surprising aspect. Far from being discrete, private spaces, these communal facilities served as vibrant social hubs where citizens engaged in conversation, exchanged gossip, conducted business, and even discussed politics. The communal seating, with little to no visual separation, fostered an environment of casual interaction. While Roman society was rigidly stratified, public baths and latrines were generally accessible to all classes, often for a small fee or even free, funded by local governments or wealthy patrons. This created unique spaces where diverse social strata, from plebeians to patricians, could interact, blurring some of the rigid social lines that defined other aspects of Roman life. However, the existence of private latrines in elite homes, often built over cesspools and emptied by slaves, underscores that true privilege still meant a degree of separation from the public sphere. This dual system reveals that while public sanitation infrastructure could act as an unconventional social equalizer by providing shared spaces, the elite still maintained their distinct status through private amenities. The maintenance of Rome's vast sanitation infrastructure was a continuous effort. Specialized crews, such as those established by Water Commissioner Frontinus, were responsible for the upkeep of aqueducts and the distribution of water based on quality. Public officials known as ediles were tasked with keeping the streets clean. Despite these efforts and laws against it, throwing waste out of windows into the streets remained a common practice, especially in poorer districts, where stepping stones were often needed to navigate piles of rubbish. This persistent issue, alongside the acknowledged lack of daily cleaning routines for public baths and latrines themselves, reveals a significant gap between the intended ideal of urban sanitation and the lived reality, particularly for the less affluent. The unenviable task of emptying cesspits fell to so-called night soilmen or nightmen, who would legally perform this work at night to minimize public exposure to the stench, often selling the collected waste as fertilizer to farmers. This highlights that even with impressive engineering and laws, the practicalities of maintaining large-scale public health in ancient cities were often challenged by social habits, economic disparities, and insufficient enforcement. Social rules and superstitions also played a role in Roman daily life, extending even to the latrine. The communal sponge, the tussorium, required a certain etiquette, though the reality of its shared use likely led to the spread of disease. The presence of graffiti and even suggestive mosaics in latrines offers a fascinating glimpse into Roman humour and their comfort with public intimacy. Some mosaics, like one depicting Ganymedes and Jupiter, contain dirty jokes built right into the walls, suggesting that these spaces, despite their function, were not devoid of entertainment or social commentary. This cultural comfort with public bodily functions, perhaps even a form of bonding through shared vulnerability, stands in stark contrast to modern sensibilities. The taboo was not the lack of privacy itself, but rather specific social transgressions within this communal setting. Broader Roman superstitions, such as beliefs about household spirits, lares or omens from owls, provided a rich cultural backdrop that influenced daily actions and perceptions, though their direct impact on latrine etiquette is less clear. The Roman public latrine, therefore, was a place of extreme lack of privacy by modern standards, yet it was also a space for social interaction and even humour, demonstrating how cultural norms around privacy are highly fluid and historically contingent. A typical day in ancient Rome was a tapestry woven with threads of work, social interaction, and the ever-present realities of urban life, with public sanitation facilities often serving as unexpected touchstones. The Roman morning began early, often before dawn, particularly for those who had work to do. Breakfast, known as ientaculum or gentaculum, was a quick and small affair, typically consisting of bread dipped in wine, perhaps with some fruit or cheese. It was not a grand family meal, but a functional start to the day. For the wealthy, morning ablutions might take place in a private latrine within their domus or involve the use of a chamber pot, which slaves would then empty. For the vast majority of Romans, particularly the poor living in crowded insulae apartment buildings that often lacked indoor plumbing, a visit to a public latrine was a common morning ritual. Alternatively, they might use chamber pots at home, the contents of which were then emptied into large jars placed on the streets, collected weekly by municipal crews. Imagine Lucius, a baker in Ostia Antica, rising with the first hint of light. His small apartment above his shop, though modest, offers a view of the bustling street below. After a quick bite of bread and a sip of watered-down wine, he makes his way through the waking city. His first stop, like many others, is the public latrine near the Forum. As he enters the large, open room, the murmur of voices already fills the air. He chooses a spot on the long stone bench, nodding to a neighbour, a fishmonger, who is already engaged in a lively discussion with another man about the morning's catch. Lucius exchanges greetings, perhaps a snippet of news about a recent chariot race, before attending to his business. This seemingly private act is for Lucius a communal experience, a casual start to his social day. The work and economy of ancient Rome were diverse, supporting a sprawling empire. Professions ranged from merchants and artisans in urban centres to farmers in the surrounding countryside, soldiers, administrators, and a vast number of slaves. Daily routines often intersected with public spaces. A merchant might spend his day in the bustling forum, conducting business and negotiating deals. An artisan, like Lucius the baker, would be busy in his shop, preparing goods for the day's sales. Public latrines and baths, strategically located near markets and other public areas, were frequented by people from all walks of life throughout their workday. A particularly interesting aspect of the Roman economy was the collection and reuse of human waste. Public urinals, known as dolia curta, were strategically placed to collect urine, which was then sold to fullers for cleaning wool and to other industries for tanning. This practice highlights an early form of a circular economy, where waste was not merely discarded, but recognized as a valuable commodity, driven by practical necessity and resource scarcity. The Romans, with their pragmatic approach, found ways to integrate human biological processes into their industrial and economic systems. Food and drink were central to Roman daily life, though the timing and extravagance of meals varied by social class. Beyond the light breakfast, a simple lunch, prandium, was often consumed quickly or on the go, perhaps consisting of bread, beans, herrings and onions, or olives, figs and salads. Water was the primary drink, sometimes sweetened with honey, or a watered-down, low-quality wine called posca for the poor. The main meal of the day was the cena, eaten in the late afternoon or evening. For the wealthy, this could be an elaborate, multi-course banquet lasting for hours, featuring various meats, seafood, vegetables, and desserts. For commoners, the cena was simpler, often a wheatmeal porridge. The consumption of food and drink, whether from street vendors, taverns, or private homes, inevitably led to the need for public latrines, which were conveniently integrated into the urban fabric. Socializing and community engagement were vital aspects of Roman life, often centered around public spaces. The forum served as a central hub for commerce, political discourse, and casual meetings. Public baths, or thermae, were indispensable social institutions, akin to modern community centres or gyms, where Romans spent afternoons bathing, exercising, meeting friends, discussing politics, and even conducting business. Public latrines, as previously discussed, also functioned as social spaces, fostering interactions and conversations. Lucius, the baker, might indeed meet a client at the public latrine, casually discussing a large bread order while attending to their needs. From there, he might proceed to the public baths, not just for cleanliness, but for further networking and relaxation, solidifying his social connections within the bustling city. Despite their impressive sanitation infrastructure and emphasis on personal cleanliness, the health and wellness of Romans presented a complex picture. While they valued hygiene and bathing, a paradox existed. Diseases and parasites, such as typhus, trench fever, whipworm and roundworm, were rampant and even increased during Roman times. This was largely due to the communal nature of public latrines and baths, where water was often infrequently changed, allowing a scum of human dirt and cosmetics to build up, becoming breeding grounds for pathogens. The use of human excrement as crop fertilizer, unless properly composted for many months, also contributed to the spread of parasite eggs. This highlights the unintended consequences of progress, where technological solutions, without a full understanding of biological mechanisms, could inadvertently create new vectors for disease. The Roman drive for urban sanitation, while impressive for its engineering, did not automatically translate into improved public health outcomes, demonstrating that innovation in one area does not guarantee health improvements if underlying biological principles are not understood. Roman medical concepts, influenced by figures like Galen, often relied on the humoral theory, seeking to restore balance to the body through diet, bloodletting, and medicines. Leisure and entertainment were highly valued by Romans. After the day's work, many would visit the public baths, a daily ritual that combined personal hygiene with exercise, social interaction, and relaxation. Beyond the baths, popular activities included attending chariot races at the Circus Maximus, gladiatorial fights at the Colosseum, or plays at the theatre. Strolling through public gardens, gambling, and playing ball games were also common pastimes. Public latrines, being integrated into these busy public spaces, continued to serve as places for casual interaction and conversation even during leisure hours. As evening approached, the Roman day concluded with the cena, the most important meal. For patricians, supper could be an elaborate affair lasting anywhere from 1 to 4 hours, sometimes extending past midnight for lavish banquets. Respectable suppers often consisted of multiple courses, including hors d'oeuvre, various entrees, roasts, and desserts like fruit and honey. Wine, often watered down, was a standard accompaniment. For commoners, the evening meal was simpler and bedtime was typically early. The Roman streets at night, lacking widespread public lighting, were dangerous, prompting many to return home before sundown, or for the wealthy to be escorted by an entourage of slaves carrying torches. Lucius, the baker, after a long day of work and social engagement, might stop at a local tavern for a final drink before making his way back to his apartment, the sounds of the city dimming around him. He prepares for an early night, his day a blend of labour, public life, and the ever-present realities of urban sanitation that shaped his world. Ancient China, particularly during the Han Dynasty, developed unique and often ingenious approaches to sanitation, deeply intertwined with its agrarian economy, cultural beliefs, and social structures. Unlike the Roman emphasis on flushing waste away, Han Chinese sanitation often integrated human waste directly into the agricultural cycle, reflecting a pragmatic and resourceful society. The design and technology of public restrooms in Han Dynasty China varied significantly between urban and rural areas, and even between social classes. The most primitive form of a toilet was simply a hole dug into the ground, over which individuals would squat. These evolved into more structured pit latrines, a particularly distinctive and widespread feature, especially in rural regions, was the pigsty toilet CE. Here, human waste would slide down a tunnel from the toilet into an adjoining pig pen, where pigs would consume the waste. This practice highlights a profound resourcefulness driven by necessity and the agricultural economy, where human waste was not simply discarded but actively transformed into a valuable input for food production. In urban centres, where direct integration with pigsties was less practical, residents often used large, water-filled wooden buckets known as matongs horse buckets within their homes. Each morning, the contents of these matongs would be emptied into public restrooms or designated collection points, and the buckets would be scrubbed clean in a nearby river. Regional variations in toilet design were also notable. Water-scarce northern China favoured squat toilets for collecting night soil human excrement for fertilisation, while the more water-rich south saw more sitting toilets, often simple pits with wooden benches. Perhaps the most astonishing discovery, challenging long-held assumptions about ancient plumbing, is a 2400-year-old manual flush toilet unearthed at the Yuyang archaeological site in Xi'an. This luxury object, likely used by Qin or Han royalty, featured a bent flush pipe and a cesspit, flushed by manually dumping a bucket of water into the system. This demonstrates that while advanced flushing technology existed, it was an exclusive innovation for the highest echelons of society, not a widespread public utility. The coexistence of such rudimentary and sophisticated systems underscores the vast disparity in access to sanitation and the pragmatic, utilitarian approach to waste for the majority. Han Dynasty hygiene practices were a fascinating blend of practicality, ritual, and early medical understanding. For personal wiping, archaeological discoveries have revealed bamboo or wood spatulas known as salaka, checho, and chugi. While the exact timing and widespread adoption remain speculative, the early invention of toilet paper in China is also noted, though an Arabic traveller's journal from the time suggests its initial use led to a bit of a mess with discarded heaps. Beyond the latrine, broader hygiene practices included hand washing using gourd-shaped pouring vessels and shallow dishes. Bathing was both a personal and ritualistic act, with records indicating its centrality in elite ceremonial life and even government-mandated bathing holidays for officials. Early forms of shampoo, made from Chinese honey locust, egg whites, or rice water, were also in use. The Han Chinese also found various uses for urine, including egg preservation, hormone extraction, and even as a deodorant. Perhaps most remarkably, ancient Chinese medical texts describe a remedy for diarrhea known as yellow soup, which involved consuming human feces. While unappetizing by modern standards, this practice, a form of fecal transplant, demonstrates a surprising, albeit empirically derived, understanding of gut health and the role of beneficial bacteria, predating modern medical science by millennia. This blend of practical daily hygiene, ritualistic purification, and early medical innovation suggests a holistic approach to well-being that integrated physical, spiritual, and even medicinal aspects. The social dynamics of the Han Dynasty were characterized by a rigid hierarchy with the emperor at the apex, followed by nobles, officials, farmers, artisans, and merchants, with slaves at the bottom. Women, despite Confucian influence often confining them to the home, held significant legal rights, including property ownership, and mothers enjoyed high familial status. Public toilets, particularly in urban areas, served as collection points for night soil, directly linking urban sanitation to the rural agricultural economy. This system, where human waste was collected by specialized workers and sold to farmers, highlights how sanitation was not merely a matter of disposal, but an integral part of the economic and social fabric. The state's involvement in organizing such collection, and the presence of hygiene officers persuading peasants to adopt hygienic habits, suggests that public sanitation was intertwined with the broader idea of creating a modern nation-state and maintaining social order. This top-down approach to public welfare and control, especially in urbanizing centers, demonstrates how government involvement in sanitation can be a powerful tool for social reform and national identity building. The maintenance of sanitation in the Han Dynasty was largely decentralized for the majority, relying on the night soil collectors who made daily rounds to gather human waste from public toilets and households. This collected waste was then sold to farmers in the countryside, serving as a crucial fertilizer for crops. In later periods, as cities grew, more formalized infrastructure began to emerge, including the introduction of large-scale septic tanks and municipal treatment plants designed to process urban waste into superior manure. This evolution reflects a growing awareness of the need for more organized waste management as populations became denser, while still maintaining the core principle of waste valorization. Cultural taboos and etiquette deeply influenced daily life, including sanitation practices in Han Dynasty China. Many of these taboos were not solely health-based, but rooted in superstition, ritual, and the pursuit of social harmony. For instance, during the Chinese New Year, it was taboo to sweep or take out garbage, as this was associated with sweeping wealth away or dumping out good luck. Similarly, washing hair or clothes on New Year's Day was avoided to prevent washing one's fortune away. These beliefs demonstrate a system where cleanliness, if performed at the wrong time, could have negative spiritual consequences. General cultural taboos included avoiding words related to death or sickness and specific gift-giving customs. In the imperial court, strict etiquette dictated that bodily functions such as urinating, spitting, or even coughing were considered improper in the emperor's presence. This highlights how bodily control was a sign of respect and order within the highly formalized social hierarchy. The intertwined nature of hygiene, superstition, and social harmony meant that daily routines were shaped by a complex web of beliefs, reflecting a broader cultural understanding of well-being that extended beyond mere physical cleanliness. A day in the Han Dynasty was dictated by social standing, economic role, and the pervasive influence of cultural norms and imperial expectations, with sanitation practices woven into the fabric of daily routines. The Han morning began early, often before dawn, particularly for officials who were required to attend rigorous morning assemblies with the emperor. These meetings were long, formal affairs, demanding strict adherence to court etiquette, including the control of bodily functions. For the majority of urban residents, morning ablutions involved the use of a household matong, a wooden bucket, which would then be emptied into designated public collection points or into larger jars on the street. In rural areas, simpler pit latrines or the unique pigsty toilets served the purpose. Imagine Master Li, a low-ranking urban official in Chang'an. He rises before the sun, the faint sounds of the waking city already reaching his ears. After using his matong, he dispatches a young servant to empty it at the communal collection point down the lane, a daily ritual that ensures the city's waste is managed. He then prepares meticulously for his long day at court, where decorum and self-control are paramount. The work and economy of the Han Dynasty were characterized by significant population growth and increasing urbanization, supporting a wide range of professions. Farmers, the backbone of the economy, toiled in the fields, their routines dictated by the seasons and the demands of their crops. Artisans worked in government workshops or private enterprises, producing goods from silk to iron, merchants navigated bustling urban markets, facilitating trade along routes like the Silk Road. A crucial, though often unseen, part of this economic ecosystem was the night soil collector. These individuals would begin their rounds early, gathering human waste from public latrines and household matongs to sell to farmers in the countryside as fertilizer. This system highlights the valorization of waste in an agrarian society, where human excrement was not merely a problem to be disposed of, but a valuable commodity that fueled agricultural productivity. This pre-industrial sustainability model, driven by an acute awareness of soil fertility and food production, demonstrates how economic systems profoundly influence waste management strategies, leading to innovative and often sustainable practices when resources are scarce or highly valued. The Han diet was largely grain-heavy, with staples like rice, millet, and wheat, supplemented by beans and various vegetables. Meat, including ox, sheep, pig, and fowl, was consumed, but more commonly by the wealthy or for special occasions. Emperors and high-ranking officials often had 2 formal meals a day, with elaborate preparations and numerous dishes, reflecting their status. Commoners, however, subsisted on simpler fare. Socializing and community life in the Han Dynasty occurred in various settings. Markets were vibrant hubs for commerce and informal social interaction. Public spaces, though perhaps less overtly social for intimate acts than Roman latrines, still facilitated community engagement. Bathhouses, particularly in later dynasties, gained prominence as social spaces where people could relax and interact. Master Li, the urban official, would engage in polite, formal conversations at court, navigating the intricate social hierarchies. Meanwhile, a farmer in the countryside, after a day of labour, might share a simple meal with neighbours, perhaps discussing the quality of their fertilised fields, a topic of shared economic interest. Health and wellness in the Han Dynasty were understood through the lens of systematic correspondence, where everything in nature was believed to be in harmony, including the human body. Illness was seen as a result of imbalance in qi vital energy or yin-yang, or from external evil influences. Medical practices included pulse feeling, gazing, observing complexion, acupuncture, and a wide array of herbal remedies. The government took measures to respond to epidemics, such as requisitioning houses for medicine storage and providing relief, but ancient medical facilities were limited in their capacity to meet public demand. The blend of philosophical principles with empirical observations, such as the yellow soup remedy for diarrhea, demonstrates a pragmatic approach to health within a strong philosophical framework. This highlights how ancient medical systems, though lacking modern scientific tools, developed complex, multifaceted approaches to health that integrated philosophical, ritual, and practical elements. Leisure and entertainment in the Han Dynasty reflected a period of relative stability and economic development. Popular activities included confrontational drama, athletics, various board games, music, and dance. Officials even enjoyed bathing holidays, highlighting the importance of personal hygiene and relaxation as a recognized part of their routine. Among the elite, the burning of aromatic incense was a fashionable pastime, used for relaxation, spiritual practices, and as a symbol of refinement. As the day concluded, emperors and high officials might engage in late, elaborate dinners or spiritual practices, sometimes extending into the late evening. For commoners, the evening brought a return to their homes and an earlier bedtime. Sleeping arrangements often involved low couches tar or heated brick beds kang in northern regions. Master Li, after a long day of court intrigues and formal duties, might enjoy a quiet evening meal with his family. Perhaps he lights some aromatic incense, a practice favoured by the literati, before retiring to his comfortable tar, reflecting on the day's events and preparing for another demanding morning. His day, like that of many Han subjects, was a testament to a society that meticulously managed its resources, its social order, and its daily rhythms. Ancient Egypt, a civilization deeply rooted in religious belief and a profound appreciation for order mart, approached sanitation and hygiene with a distinct cultural lens. Unlike the communal focus of Rome, the Egyptian experience, particularly in the New Kingdom, emphasized personal purity, and for the elite, private facilities, with the Nile River often serving as the primary public restroom, and bathing ground for the masses. The design and technology of public restrooms in ancient Egypt were notably different from those of Rome. There is a relative absence of prominent public latrines in the Roman sense. Instead, sanitation facilities were primarily private, reflecting a societal value placed on individual status and privacy in such matters. Wealthy homes often featured dedicated bathrooms with limestone seats, beneath which sat sand-filled containers that were manually emptied by servants. These elite residences might also include wet rooms or shower rooms with floor drains, though running water into the toilets for flushing was not a common feature. For commoners, facilities were much simpler, often involving wooden stools with holes, or more frequently, the use of the Nile River or open fields for waste disposal. While impressive early copper drainage pipes from the Bronze Age indicate advanced water management for its time, these systems were not typically integrated into widespread public latrine networks. The limited development of communal public latrines, in contrast to the Roman model, strongly suggests that privacy was a mark of status, not a public utility, and that access to sophisticated hygiene infrastructure was a privilege tied to social hierarchy. Egyptian hygiene practices were driven by an almost obsessive cultural value placed on cleanliness, stemming from both practical needs in a hot, sandy environment and deep-seated religious beliefs about purity for the afterlife. Daily bathing was a norm. Commoners would bathe in the Nile or canals, while the wealthy had access to private baths or showers, often using natron soap or a paste of clay and olive oil. Hair removal, through shaving heads or sugaring, was common to prevent lice and for aesthetic reasons. The widespread use of oils and unguents served multiple purposes, from sun protection to insect repellent, and kohl was applied to the eyes, not only for aesthetic appeal, but also for its antibacterial properties and to reduce sun glare. Perhaps most remarkably, the ancient Egyptians developed advanced dental hygiene practices, including toothpaste made from eggshells, ox hooves, and ashes, along with early toothbrushes and breath mints. This comprehensive approach to personal care, encompassing bathing, hair removal, skincare, and dental hygiene, was part of a holistic and spiritual imperative where physical cleanliness was seen as essential for both earthly well-being and a favourable passage into the afterlife. The social dynamics of ancient Egypt were characterised by a rigid social hierarchy, with the pharaoh at the top, followed by nobles, scribes, priests, soldiers, craftsmen, farmers, and slaves. While the new kingdom offered some opportunities for upward mobility for the educated and skilled, the class structure remained largely fixed. Women, though generally confined to the home, held a relatively high legal status, able to own property and initiate divorce. The absence of communal latrines, unlike Rome, suggests a different social dynamic, with less public interaction around bodily functions. This societal structure, combined with the decentralized nature of waste disposal, created a paradox. Despite an intense cultural value on personal cleanliness and public appearance, the primary methods of waste disposal for the majority, dumping into irrigation canals or open fields, were rudimentary and likely led to environmental contamination. This reveals a disconnect between individual and ritualistic purity and the development of a comprehensive, city-wide public sanitation infrastructure for waste removal. It highlights that a society can value individual hygiene highly without necessarily developing sophisticated large-scale public sanitation systems, demonstrating that personal practice and collective infrastructure do not always align. Maintenance of sanitation in ancient Egypt was primarily the responsibility of individual households, with waste often dumped into irrigation canals or open fields. These communal dump sites, unfortunately, became breeding grounds for vermin and disease. Water for individual homes was typically gathered by groups of women from the Nile or canals, while groups of men often performed laundry in the same bodies of water. This decentralized approach to waste management, lacking a comprehensive sewer network, inherently led to localized pollution and continuous cycles of contamination, despite the abundant water supply from the Nile. The effectiveness of sanitation, therefore, was not just about water availability, but also about organized, centralized waste removal infrastructure, which was less developed in Egypt compared to Roman or Indus systems. Taboos and etiquette in ancient Egypt were deeply religious and pervasive, shaping daily life and personal conduct. Access to sacred buildings like tombs, temples, and palaces was restricted by strict rules of purity, often requiring circumcision and sexual abstinence. Food taboos, such as the avoidance of pigs, certain fish, and honey, were also observed. Actions like walking upside down were considered taboo BAT, the opposite of mat, the cosmic balance, truth, and justice. Violating a taboo was believed to have severe negative impacts, even leading to a second death. This illustrates how religious imperatives profoundly shaped hygiene and social conduct, extending beyond mere physical cleanliness to encompass spiritual purity. The concept of mat provided a cosmic framework for daily actions, including those related to the body and waste, demonstrating how religious beliefs can be a powerful, pervasive force in shaping daily hygiene practices, social norms, and even the very concept of cleanliness within a civilization. The rhythm of daily life in ancient Egypt, from the opulent existence of the pharaoh to the arduous toil of the farmer, was deeply influenced by social status, the dictates of the Nile, and a pervasive cultural emphasis on cleanliness and spiritual well-being. The pharaoh's morning rituals were a spectacle of luxury and meticulous presentation. He would wake before dawn, immediately attended by a retinue of servants, including the chief of the scented oils and pastes for rubbing His Majesty's body. His body would be extensively cleaned, anointed with fragrant oils, and adorned with elaborate jewelry, a visual testament to his divine status. Following this, he would hold daily audiences in the audience chamber, receiving ambassadors, generals, and nobility, before proceeding to the temple to pay tribute to the chief god, Amen-Re, a crucial act to maintain cosmic order, or mat. In stark contrast, a commoner, perhaps a farmer, would rise early to the sounds of the waking village. Their morning ablutions would involve a quick bath in the Nile River or a basin at home, followed by the application of basic creams to protect against the sun and insects. Imagine Pharaoh Ramesses II, awakening in his lavish palace. Servants glide silently, bringing perfumed water for his bath, meticulously shaving his head and applying rich unguents to his skin. His elaborate wig is readied, and golden jewelry is carefully placed upon him. Soon he will face his courtiers, a living god among men. Meanwhile, in a small mud brick dwelling near the fertile fields, a farmer named Hori splashes water from a clay pot over himself. A quick, refreshing cleanse before he heads out to tend his crops, his daily routine a world apart from his divine ruler. The work and economy of ancient Egypt were fundamentally agricultural, sustained by the annual inundation of the Nile. Farmers constituted the vast majority of the population, working the fertile lands to grow staple crops like wheat, barley, and flax. Their daily routines were dictated by the 3 seasons: Akhet inundation, Peret planting, and Shemu harvesting. During the inundation, when fields were flooded, farmers often contributed labor to state projects, such as monument construction. Craftsmen, like those living in the village of Deir el-Medineh, enjoyed a higher status than common laborers. These skilled workers, responsible for building and decorating royal tombs, had unique work schedules, including 2 days off every 10 days, and were meticulous record keepers, providing invaluable insights into their daily lives. Scribes, priests, and soldiers occupied other important tiers in the social hierarchy, each with distinct daily duties. Access to and methods of hygiene were directly tied to one's social status and occupation. While the pharaoh enjoyed luxurious private sanitation, commoners relied on the Nile for bathing and waste disposal, highlighting how daily life, including sanitation practices, was fundamentally shaped by economic roles and social hierarchies, with different classes experiencing vastly different realities of cleanliness and convenience. The staple diet for most Egyptians consisted primarily of bread and beer, the latter often a watery, nutrient-rich porridge made from fermented grain. Vegetables, fruits, and occasional meat supplemented this diet, though meat was more common for offerings or for the elite. Imagine Hori's family sharing a simple meal of flatbread and a mug of thick beer, a nourishing but unvaried diet. In contrast, Pharaoh Ramesses II might enjoy a lavish spread of roasted beef, various fowl, exotic fruits, and imported wines, a testament to the abundance his divine rule was believed to bring. Socializing and community life largely revolved around villages, markets, and for the elite, the royal court or temple ceremonies. The Nile River served as a central artery for daily activities, including bathing, laundry, and water collection, fostering continuous community interaction among commoners. This shared reliance on the river created a unique communal space, even in the absence of formal public latrines. Despite the Egyptians' strong emphasis on daily personal hygiene and their advanced medical knowledge, the health and wellness of the population faced significant challenges. Medicine was a blend of science and magic, with physicians treating illnesses, conducting surgeries, and creating remedies, drawing on anatomical knowledge gained from mummification. However, infectious diseases, particularly schistosomiasis, were prevalent, spread through contact with polluted water in the Nile, which served as both a source of water and a disposal site for waste. This highlights the critical role of comprehensive public sanitation infrastructure. Relying on the Nile for both bathing and waste disposal created a continuous cycle of contamination, demonstrating that individual efforts alone are insufficient to combat widespread public health challenges without robust waste management. The government did provide some forms of public health care, such as rations for medical professionals and subsidized sick leave for workers, particularly the skilled craftsmen of Deir el-Medine, indicating an early, albeit limited, public health system. Leisure and entertainment were important aspects of Egyptian life, regardless of social class. They believed their afterlife was an eternal continuation of their earthly existence, encouraging them to enjoy every moment. Popular activities included playing board games like Senet, enjoying music, dancing, and storytelling. Festivals, often with religious significance, were major events. The wealthy might indulge in lavish parties or hunting. This pursuit of a good life meant that hygiene was not just about avoiding disease, but also about maintaining a presentable state for these social and spiritual pursuits. As evening descended, most Egyptians would return to their homes for an early night, preparing to rise with the sun for another day of labor. Pharaohs, after their final daily duty of a sunset ceremony at the temple, would return to the palace for their beauty sleep. Hori the farmer might gather with his family in their mud brick home, perhaps sleeping on the flat roof during hot nights to catch the cooler air, a stark contrast to the pharaoh's secluded and opulent chambers. The day, for all Egyptians, concluded with a deep connection to the rhythms of the Nile and the pervasive belief in a life lived in harmony with divine order. The Indus Valley civilization, flourishing between approximately 2600 BCE 1900 BCE, stands as a remarkable testament to ancient urban planning and an unparalleled commitment to sanitation. Its cities, including Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, and Rakhigahi, boasted the world's first known urban sanitation systems, predating Roman systems by centuries and demonstrating a level of sophistication that was truly ahead of its time. The design and technology of public restrooms and sanitation in the Indus Valley were exceptionally advanced. The cities were meticulously laid out on grid patterns, suggesting a high degree of centralized planning and a keen understanding of engineering. A hallmark of this civilization was its sophisticated drainage systems. Covered drains, constructed with precisely laid baked bricks and sealed with mud mortar, ran along the main streets, with smaller drains connecting from individual homes. These drains featured holes at regular intervals for cleaning and inspection, demonstrating a foresight in maintenance. Most houses, regardless of size, had private indoor bathing platforms and dedicated toilet or waste disposal holes. These private toilets were often flushed by emptying a jar of water drawn from the house's central well through a clay brick pipe into a shared brick drain or a cesspit. The cesspits were periodically emptied of solid matter, likely for use as fertilizer. The water supply system was equally impressive, with numerous wells, over 700 in Mohenjo-Daro alone, reservoirs and rainwater harvesting techniques ensuring a reliable water supply for the population. Public baths were also a significant feature, most famously the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro. This large, watertight structure, measuring approximately 12 by 7 meters, was constructed with finely fitted bricks, gypsum plaster, and a thick layer of bitumen to ensure its impermeability. The unparalleled urban planning and health consciousness of the Indus Valley civilization are evident in this infrastructure. The widespread availability of private bathing and toilet facilities connected to a city-wide drainage system suggests a deeply ingrained societal value for cleanliness and public health, perhaps even a proto-public health policy far beyond contemporary civilizations. This level of standardization and organization implies a highly structured society capable of implementing such extensive systems, challenging the notion that advanced sanitation is a purely modern phenomenon. The hygiene practices of the Indus Valley people were characterized by an intense concern with cleanliness and a deep preoccupation with purity and cleanness. This went beyond mere bodily hygiene, encompassing a strong sense of ritual purity. The ubiquity of private baths in homes and the presence of monumental public baths like the Great Bath strongly suggest frequent and thorough personal washing was a societal norm. The emphasis on ritual purity, alongside the highly advanced physical sanitation infrastructure, suggests a strong causal link. It is plausible that deep-seated religious or cultural beliefs about purity drove the development and widespread adoption of such meticulous hygiene practices and urban planning. The physical cleanliness observed in their cities was likely a direct manifestation of a spiritual or social imperative, demonstrating how cultural and religious frameworks can provide powerful motivation for public health initiatives and infrastructure development. The social dynamics of the Indus Valley civilization remain somewhat speculative due to the undeciphered script and lack of explicit textual records. However, archaeological evidence suggests a highly organized civic system without clear evidence of a centralized monarchy or grand temples, which differentiates it from the state structures of Mesopotamia or Egypt. The uniform urban planning and widespread access to sophisticated sanitation facilities suggest a more equitable distribution of basic amenities compared to some other ancient societies, or at least a strong civic responsibility for collective well-being. The possibility of a caste system has been inferred from archaeological evidence of walls dividing sections of the populace, but this remains a subject of debate. The absence of clear evidence for powerful kings or temples, alongside the highly organized and uniform urban planning, suggests a society that achieved collective well-being and sophisticated infrastructure through a different model of governance, perhaps a more decentralized or civic-oriented authority. This challenges the notion that such complex urban systems require a strong, singular autocratic ruler. Maintenance of the Indus Valley's sophisticated sanitation systems was built into their design. The covered drains had holes at regular intervals, specifically for cleaning and inspection, ensuring the continuous flow of wastewater. Cesspits, where solid waste collected, were periodically emptied, likely for reuse as fertilizer. This proactive approach to maintenance underscores the civilization's commitment to sustained public health and urban functionality. While direct textual evidence for taboos and etiquette is limited, the archaeological record provides significant clues. The sheer uniformity and sophistication of the sanitation systems imply a strong, unspoken set of social rules and expectations regarding cleanliness. The extensive investment in such infrastructure suggests that hygiene was not merely a convenience, but a deeply ingrained cultural value, possibly enforced through social pressure or religious custom related to purity. The consistent design and widespread adoption of these practices across multiple cities speak volumes about a shared societal understanding and adherence to high standards of cleanliness. This demonstrates how material culture, particularly infrastructure, can provide significant insights into a society's values and norms, even when explicit textual records are scarce. A day in the life of an Indus Valley dweller would have been characterized by a remarkable sense of order, cleanliness, and communal well-being, facilitated by their unparalleled urban planning and advanced sanitation systems. The Indus morning would begin in a well-constructed baked brick home, often featuring an enclosed courtyard. The first order of business would be personal ablutions in a private bathing room, a common feature in most houses. Water for bathing would be drawn from a household well, and the wastewater would efficiently drain into the sophisticated city-wide sewage system, a testament to the city's advanced planning and engineering. Imagine Maya, a hypothetical merchant in Mohenjo-Daro, rising with the sun. Her two-story home, built of sturdy baked bricks, feels cool and clean. She steps into her private bathing room, pouring water from a clay jar over herself, the water swiftly disappearing down a drain connected to the city's unseen network of sewers. This daily ritual, performed in privacy and with access to clean water, is a subtle but profound luxury, a stark contrast to many other ancient civilizations and a quiet appreciation for her city's meticulous design. The work and economy of the Indus Valley civilization supported a diverse range of professions within its well-organized cities. While the majority of the population likely worked in agriculture, urban centers housed traders, potters, metalworkers, weavers, and even individuals dedicated to sewage maintenance. The city's grid patterns and specialized neighborhoods would have facilitated efficient movement and trade, supporting a thriving economy. The highly efficient drainage and water supply systems would have significantly improved public health, reducing disease and allowing for a denser, more productive urban population. This robust infrastructure would have directly supported the flourishing of trade and specialized crafts by creating a more livable and healthy environment for workers and merchants. This highlights how investment in public sanitation infrastructure can be a crucial factor in economic development and urban prosperity by creating a healthier and more efficient workforce. The diet of Indus Valley dwellers, inferred from granaries and archaeological finds, likely centered on grains such as wheat and barley, supplemented by various vegetables and possibly fish. Clean water from the numerous city wells was readily available for drinking and cooking. Socializing and community life would have unfolded within the well-planned urban environment. Interactions would occur in public spaces, perhaps during trade in the bustling markets or during communal gatherings. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, while its precise function remains debated, is widely believed to have been used for ritualistic bathing. This suggests a social function beyond mere hygiene, possibly serving as a site for communal purification ceremonies or religious rites. Maya, the merchant, might visit the Great Bath not just for physical cleanliness but for a ritual purification before a significant trade negotiation, observing the communal nature of the space and participating in a shared cultural practice. The sophisticated sanitation systems of the Indus Valley civilization strongly imply a high level of public health awareness and a focus on preventative health. While explicit records of medical texts or disease prevalence are scarce, the sheer scale and uniformity of their infrastructure suggest a highly effective preventative public health strategy. The widespread access to clean water and efficient waste removal would have significantly reduced the burden of waterborne diseases, leading to a healthier population without necessarily needing advanced medical cures. This demonstrates that proactive, infrastructural approaches to public health can be more impactful than reactive medical interventions, even in ancient contexts. Leisure and entertainment for Indus Valley children included playing with toys and board games, with archaeologists finding cube dice, suggesting they might have invented them. Families might have spent evenings relaxing on their flat roofs, which were strong enough to serve as an extra room, offering a cool place to sleep on hot nights and a space to socialize with friends across the street. As the day concluded, families would return to their well-built homes, perhaps gathering on their cool flat roofs during hot nights, enjoying the open air. The sounds of the city's efficient drainage systems would be a quiet hum beneath the streets, a constant, unseen testament to the order and cleanliness that defined their civilization. Maya returns to her home, the sounds of the city's efficient drainage systems a quiet hum beneath the streets, a testament to the order and cleanliness that defined her civilization. The meticulous planning and widespread implementation of advanced sanitation in the Indus Valley speak volumes about a society that prioritized collective well-being and a structured, hygienic daily existence. Mesoamerican civilizations, particularly the Aztecs and Maya, developed distinct and highly sustainable approaches to sanitation, often viewing human waste not as a problem to be discarded, but as a valuable resource. Their practices were deeply interwoven with their urban planning, agricultural needs, and cultural rituals of cleanliness. The design and technology of public restrooms in Mesoamerica varied, reflecting unique environmental and societal adaptations. In the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, despite the absence of a city-wide drainage system akin to Rome's, a sophisticated system for human waste management was in place. Privies, both public and private, were common, and human excrement was meticulously collected in canoes positioned beneath them. This collected waste was then applied as fertilizer to Chinampas, floating parcels of land used for agriculture or sold in the market for purposes like tanning animal hides. Urine was also collected in pottery vessels for use as a mordant in dyeing cloth. This highlights a deliberate approach to waste as a valuable resource in an ecological urbanism, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of nutrient cycling and a highly integrated agricultural system. For fresh water, the Aztecs constructed impressive aqueducts, such as those bringing water from Chapultepec to Tenochtitlan. These aqueducts often featured two channels, one for active use and the other for cleaning, ensuring a continuous supply of potable water to temples, palaces, and public reservoirs. Among the Maya, archaeological evidence suggests the use of latrines as pits dug into limestone bedrock. Intriguingly, these pits often contained maize starch spherulites, a byproduct of nixtamalization, the process of preparing maize with alkaline lime water. Researchers hypothesize that the Maya might have used this lime water, a mildly toxic waste product, to flush their latrines, which would also have helped reduce smell and insect activity, and potentially contributed to the waste's fertilizing properties. The Maya also developed advanced pressurized water systems, notably at Palenque, possibly for fountains or for waste removal, showcasing their engineering ingenuity in managing water resources. The consistent approach across both civilizations, despite varying levels of drainage infrastructure, was to view human waste primarily as a valuable resource rather than just something to be discarded. This demonstrates a highly integrated ecological approach to urban planning and agriculture, where waste was an integral part of a circular economy. Personal cleanliness was highly valued by both Aztec and Maya societies, a stark contrast to the hygiene practices observed by the arriving Spaniards. Daily bathing was common, often multiple times a day, in rivers, lakes, pools, or in specialized steam baths known as temazcali. These temazcali were domed structures heated by an external fire, creating steam for purification and relaxation. For soap, they utilized plants like Copalsacotl soap tree and Juhamoli soap plant, which produced a rich lather for washing both body and clothes. They also developed natural deodorants, breath fresheners, and dentifrices using ingredients such as salt, chili, charcoal, and even, for skincare, pigeon poop. The Aztecs even used fresh urine for washing wounds, recognizing its sterile properties. This blend of practical necessity, aesthetic ideals, and ritual purification in Mesoamerican personal care demonstrates an empirical and resourceful approach to hygiene. The cultural significance of cleanliness was so profound that the Spanish conquistadors noted the Aztecs' superior hygiene and their attempts to douse the smelly Spanish with incense upon meeting them. The social dynamics of Mesoamerican societies, particularly the Aztecs, were characterized by a strict division between nobles and commoners, with elaborate hierarchies within each group. Aztec gender roles were often described as parallel, with men and women having complementary but sometimes hierarchical responsibilities. Women held significant influence in various professions, including healers, midwives, merchants, and marketplace overseers. The Maya also had a class society with limited social mobility. The emphasis on cleanliness extended beyond the individual to the city itself. Tenochtitlan, for instance, employed 1,000 public service cleaners to sweep and water its streets daily. This meticulous maintenance, alongside the public toilets and waste collection systems, was not just about health, but also about maintaining social order and projecting an image of a highly organized, civilized society, especially in contrast to the arriving Europeans. This suggests that public hygiene served as a visible manifestation of imperial power and societal values, reinforcing hierarchies and collective discipline. The maintenance of sanitation in Aztec cities like Tenochtitlan was a highly organized and labor-intensive affair. A dedicated public service of approximately 1,000 workers was responsible for sweeping and watering the streets daily, ensuring a remarkable level of urban cleanliness for its time. Scavengers, known as pepinilia, were employed to recover recyclable materials from waste. Organic waste, including 12 human excrement collected in canoes, was transported for use as fertilizer on the Chinampas. Burnable materials were incinerated at night to provide illumination for public spaces. This demonstrates that their advanced sanitation and resource management were not achieved through passive systems, but through continuous organized human effort. Taboos and etiquette in Mesoamerican societies were deeply ingrained. The Aztecs, for example, had strict prohibitions against wastefulness, especially for the elite, with severe penalties for those who violated these norms. Littering and dumping waste in public spaces were also prohibited and penalized. Aztec societal norms also emphasized good manners, including calm speech, avoiding gossip, and maintaining a dignified demeanor. Among the Maya, explicit menstrual taboos existed, where menstrual blood was considered ritually dangerous or unclean, leading to seclusion or restrictions for menstruating women. This contrasts with the more publicly integrated bodily functions in Roman society. These practices highlight how cultural and religious beliefs defined what was considered clean or dirty, influencing daily behavior, social rules, and even creating specific rituals and restrictions. The concepts of purity and pollution were culturally constructed and deeply influenced societal norms around hygiene, often leading to specific rituals, restrictions, and social hierarchies. A day in Mesoamerica, particularly within the bustling Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, or a thriving Maya city, was a testament to meticulous urban planning, a deep connection to the environment, and a cultural emphasis on cleanliness and ritual. The Mesoamerican morning began early, often before sunrise, with the wife typically rising first to start a fire for cooking. A central and highly valued part of their daily routine was the bathing ritual. Most Aztecs and Maya bathed daily, sometimes multiple times a day, in rivers, lakes, pools, or in the ubiquitous steam baths known as temazcali. These steam baths were not just for physical cleanliness, but also for purification and relaxation, and were integral to their hygiene practices. Imagine Xochitl, an Aztec commoner, rising in her single-story mud brick home on a chinampa. The air is cool and damp from the surrounding lake. Her first act is to prepare the temazcali, stoking the external fire to heat the stones. After a cleansing steam bath, she feels refreshed and ready to begin her day, preparing maize for the family's meals, a process that might involve nixtamalization, using lime water that could later be used to flush their household privy. The work and economy of Mesoamerican civilizations were diverse and highly organized. Farmers cultivated the fertile chinampas or terraced fields, growing maize, beans, and squash, which formed the staples of their diet. Artisans, including skilled jewelry makers, stoneworkers, and featherworkers, contributed to the rich material culture. Healers, with their extensive knowledge of medicinal plants, and scribes, who maintained records, also played vital roles. The urban centers, particularly Tenochtitlan, relied on a highly organized workforce for maintenance. 1,000 public service cleaners swept and watered the city's streets daily, ensuring remarkable cleanliness. This demonstrates the labor-intensive nature of sustainable urbanism in these societies. Their advanced sanitation and resource management were not achieved through passive systems, but through continuous, organized human effort, highlighting the significant societal commitment required for such practices. The staple diet was dominated by maize, prepared in various forms like tortillas and tamales, which were consumed at almost every meal by all social classes. The nixtamalization process, soaking and cooking maize in an alkaline solution, was crucial as it significantly improved the nutritional value of the grain. Beyond maize, their diet included beans, squash, chilies, tomatoes, and various other plants, as well as insects, fish, and wild game. Socializing and community life were vibrant. Markets, such as the famous Tlatelolco market in Tenochtitlan, were not just centers for commerce, but also bustling hubs for gossip, social activity, and community engagement. Public spaces were meticulously maintained, reflecting the societal emphasis on cleanliness in social presentation. Xochitl might visit the bustling Tlatelolco market, exchanging news with vendors and neighbors, observing the daily sweeping of the streets, a visible sign of her city's order and collective pride. Health and wellness in Mesoamerican societies were understood through a holistic lens. The Maya concept of health was balance, with illness seen as an imbalance, treated by shamans using herbal remedies. Aztec medical knowledge was extensive, incorporating empirical research from botanical gardens and effective remedies for various ailments, including wound treatment with urine, the public health measures, such as the meticulous waste collection and street sweeping in Tenochtitlan, contributed to a relatively healthy population, especially compared to contemporary European cities. This demonstrates that indigenous medical systems often possessed deep ecological knowledge and practical solutions for health that were intrinsically linked to environmental management. Leisure and entertainment were integral to daily life. Popular games included Patoli, a board game, and Ulamalitzli, a ball game often imbued with religious significance, sometimes involving ritual sacrifices. Music, dance, and festivals, often tied to religious ceremonies, provided communal enjoyment. The Temazkalai, beyond its hygienic function, also served as a place for relaxation and purification, akin to a modern spa. As evening approached, families would return to their homes. Men might spend the evenings working on crafts, such as tools, while women would weave cloth for clothing. Jokitul and her family would gather in their single-story home, the day concluding with shared stories and the quiet hum of the city's meticulous maintenance, a testament to the order and sustainability that defined their civilization. Their daily lives were a continuous interplay between human ingenuity, environmental adaptation, and deeply held cultural values. The journey through the ancient world's restrooms reveals a surprising diversity of approaches to a universal human need. Far from being mere holes in the ground, these facilities and the practices surrounding them offer profound insights into the values, technologies, and daily realities of civilizations long past. A comparative overview highlights both common challenges and remarkably varied solutions. The concept of privacy, particularly in the context of sanitation, is shown to be a cultural construct rather than a universal constant. From the highly communal Roman latrines, where social interaction was the norm, to the more private facilities favoured by the Egyptian elite and the widespread household provisions in the Indus Valley, and the resource-driven privies of Mesoamerica, each society defined the boundaries of personal space differently. This fluidity highlights how deeply cultural values shape even the most intimate aspects of daily life. Furthermore, a striking contrast emerges in the approach to waste itself. Many ancient societies, notably Han China and Mesoamerican civilizations, viewed human waste primarily as a valuable resource. It was collected, processed, and reused for agriculture or industry, reflecting a pragmatic, circular economy driven by necessity and resource scarcity. This stands in stark opposition to later periods, particularly in medieval Europe, where waste was often seen purely as a problem to be discarded, leading to significant public health crises. The ancient approach, born out of a deep understanding of nutrient cycling and resource limitations, offers compelling lessons for modern sustainability challenges. The impressive engineering prowess of these civilizations often coexisted with a fundamental ignorance of microbial life. The Romans built magnificent aqueducts and sewer systems, and the Indus Valley cities boasted unparalleled drainage, yet diseases and parasites remained prevalent. This illustrates a critical paradox. Advanced technological solutions, without an understanding of germ theory, could inadvertently create new vectors for disease. The unintended consequences of seemingly progressive innovations underscore the importance of comprehensive scientific understanding in public health. Finally, sanitation infrastructure and practices serve as a powerful social barometer. They reflect a society's values regarding public health, its social hierarchy, and its approach to urban planning. The widespread, standardized sanitation in the Indus Valley suggests a strong civic responsibility and perhaps a more decentralized governance model focused on collective well-being. In Rome, public sanitation was a tool for urban utility and social integration, while in Egypt, private facilities underscored social stratification. In China, sanitation was intertwined with state building and social control, and in Mesoamerica, cleanliness was a marker of civilizational superiority. The often invisible labor of night soilmen, street sweepers, and slaves, who painstakingly maintained these systems, further reveals the human cost and societal commitment required to sustain urban cleanliness. These enduring lessons from ancient sanitation hold significant relevance for modern challenges. The principles of resource recovery and circular economies, so prevalent in ancient China and Mesoamerica, offer models for sustainable waste management in an era of growing environmental concern. The historical examples of disease spread, despite advanced infrastructure, serve as a potent reminder of the ongoing need for scientific understanding in public health, particularly in developing nations still grappling with basic sanitation access. The diverse cultural attitudes towards privacy and community in sanitation also prompt reflection on how contemporary societies design and utilize public spaces to foster or inhibit social interaction. Our journey through the surprising secrets of ancient public restrooms has revealed a landscape far richer and more complex than initially imagined. From the grand communal latrines of Rome, where business and gossip flowed as freely as the water, to the ingenious waste as resource systems of Han China and Mesoamerica, and the meticulous purity-driven urban planning of the Indus Valley, each civilization carved its unique path in addressing the most fundamental of human needs. Ancient Egypt, with its emphasis on personal hygiene and private facilities, offered yet another distinct approach, highlighting the cultural nuances of cleanliness. These overlooked aspects of daily life, the act of going to the toilet, bring ancient peoples to life in a profoundly relatable way. They remind us that despite the passage of millennia, the basic human experience remains constant. Yet, the ways in which societies chose to manage this experience and the values they imbued it with were remarkably diverse. We have seen how sanitation was not merely a matter of waste disposal, but a reflection of social hierarchy, technological prowess, economic necessity, religious belief, and even a society's self-perception. The legacy of these ancient sanitation systems is not merely historical curiosity, it is a testament to the enduring human quest for cleanliness, health, and order. The ingenuity displayed in managing water, constructing drainage, and even repurposing waste, often without the benefit of modern scientific understanding, is truly remarkable. The challenges they faced, from disease transmission in communal spaces to the logistical complexities of waste collection in dense urban centres, echo many of the public health and environmental issues that persist in parts of the world today. As we conclude this exploration, one is compelled to consider our own modern sanitation practices. The flush toilet, a symbol of modern convenience, has its own complex history, but it is built upon foundational principles of water management and waste removal pioneered by these ancient civilizations. The privacy we often take for granted in our restrooms is a cultural norm, not a universal truth, as evidenced by the communal Roman latrines. The vast, unseen infrastructure that supports our contemporary lives is a direct descendant of the aqueducts and sewers of antiquity. The surprising secrets of ancient public restrooms, therefore, are not just tales from a distant past. They are enduring lessons in human adaptation, cultural diversity, and the intricate relationship between our most basic bodily functions and the grand tapestry of civilization itself. They remind us that even in the most mundane aspects of life, profound stories and invaluable insights await discovery. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with the Midnight Historian. If tonight's story helped you find calm, please consider subscribing to join us again under the stars. Leave a like or a gentle comment. It helps these peaceful tales reach others who need rest. Until next time, sleep well, dream deep, and let the echoes of the past lull you into peace.